And Elmo, at first it was a little hard for you to understand that death is permanent. You know, in other words, it doesn't change, that when someone dies, they don't come back. They don't walk through the door. They don't go and play baseball with you. That must have been really hard.
Well, that was the first person that Elmo really loved that died. So Elmo didn't understand it. Elmo thought that maybe he was just gone for the day and he'd come back. But he didn't.
No, and I think your dad did a really good job explaining that Uncle Jack's body just stopped working.
Yeah.
You know, Jeanette, I don't mean to let Elmo monopolize the conversation.
Sorry.
That's all right.
No, it's
me.
not your fault, Elmo, at all. But Dr. Betancourt, I just want to tell people that this really is an offshoot of a wonderful series of programs that Sesame Street has done with the idea of helping military families. You guys started with when mommy or daddy gets deployed, right?
Absolutely. We found that there was really a need for military families because there were over 800,000 young children under the age of 5 in military families. Very little resources to help them cope with deployment.
And then you took it a step further, and you did when mommy or daddy comes back wounded or different, right? And that could be, by the way, physically different or mentally and emotionally different.
That's correct, and that was one of the highlights, that those differences could be invisible injuries. And again, how to explain that to young children, and really how to incorporate the whole family in understanding and also supporting one another when there are these changes.
So is this the third in a series, or did you all do one additional one before this?
This is the third in the series.
So you were doing death, and when you know, the ultimate, you know, challenging and tragic experience for a child when a parent dies, and you all decided to expand it and not simply talk about military families but all families. Why did you decide to do that?
What's really very surprising is the fact of how many children are actually impacted by the death of a parent. There's really 1 in 20 children under the age of 15 lose a parent.
And you know, as more parents put off having children, I think that number increases, because people used to have kids at 22 and now they have kids much later in life, some of them. And so the statistics are inevitable that some of those children will experience loss in their lives, and perhaps early on.
That's absolutely true. And also the fact of the different kinds of deaths that impact children overall. So you can have death as a result of a long-term illness. You can have it as a result of related to your job, as for example, firefighters or police officers.
Or coal miners recently.
Absolutely. And that's a great example of how these kinds of resources are absolutely essential. In this initiative, we also tackled a very hard aspect of death, and that is death due to suicide.